Welcome to Buddha Story 68. I am so grateful you're here with me tonight, ready to embark on a journey that could fundamentally change how you see yourself and the world. If it feels right, please take a moment to share in the comments where you are in the world and what time it is. There is a deep, quiet power in knowing that we are all connected across different places and moments, finding the same peace together. Tonight, we're not just going to talk about a concept, we are going to dive into an ancient, liberating truth from Buddhism called emptiness. S-U-N-Y-A. I know that word can sound intimidating, maybe even a little scary or sad, but I promise you it is one of the most peaceful and profoundly freeing insights humanity has ever discovered. It isn't about your life being meaningless, it's about seeing the true nature of reality, which is far more spacious, fluid, and workable than we usually imagine. The Buddha wasn't a philosopher in the Western sense. He was a radical empiricist, a spiritual scientist who looked deeply into the nature of suffering and its causes. His teaching on emptiness wasn't an abstract theory, it was a direct, practical key to unlocking the chains of our own minds. He was pointing to a natural freedom that was already there, hidden beneath all our worry and stress. Think about those moments when you are completely absorbed in a beautiful piece of music, watching clouds drift lazily across the sky, or lost in the gentle rhythm of ocean waves. In those moments, all your problems and worries seem to melt away. That spaciousness you feel, that sense of a boundary less present, is a glimpse of what this teaching is all about. The word emptiness, or sunyata, doesn't mean your life is empty of meaning, love, or beauty. It actually means the opposite. It means that the solid walls of stress, the heavy weight of anxiety, the tight grip of worry, all of these are much more like clouds than like mountains. They are real in the moment, but they are also constantly changing, flowing, and ultimately workable. Layer 1. The emptiness of self. Our journey begins with the most fundamental insight, the emptiness of a separate self. This is a topic that can feel unsettling at first, but it is also the source of immense relief. To illustrate this, let's return to the story of a young monk named Chen, who was plagued by constant worry. Chen lived in a quiet monastery, yet his mind was anything but quiet. Every night, while others slept, his thoughts raced like wild horses, whispering anxieties. Am I good enough? Am I making progress? What if I fail? The harder he tried to push these thoughts away, the more persistent they became, like trying to hold beach balls underwater. Desperate and exhausted, he sought the wisdom of his teacher, Master Lin. He confessed his torment, the overwhelming weight of thoughts about his own identity, the I that was never quite good enough. Master Lin didn't offer a platitude. He began with a simple question: when you listen to the temple bell, where does the music live? This seemingly simple question led Chen to a profound realization. The experience of hearing the bell's chime wasn't in the bell alone, nor was it solely in his ears. It was a culmination of causes and conditions: the bell, the clapper, the air carrying the sound waves, and his ears and brain processing those signals. There was no single, solid hearer of the sound. The hearing arose from the interdependence of all these elements. This is the Buddha's first and most radical teaching on emptiness, the emptiness of a separate self. He discovered that what we call I, or me, is not a solid, unchanging entity. Instead, it is a dynamic process, a stream of causes and conditions. Think about the way a waterfall is a continuous flow of water, not a single, solid thing. In the same way, our sense of self is a continuous flow of physical and mental processes, the body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Each of these components is constantly changing and depends entirely on the others. For Chen, this insight was revolutionary. He had been suffering because he believed there was a solid, vulnerable Chen, who had to be good enough and make progress. When he realized that this Chen was just a collection of ever-changing thoughts and feelings, he could stop identifying with the worry. The thoughts would still arise, but they no longer had the power to keep him awake all night. He was free from the heavy burden of having to be a separate, perfect self. This doesn't mean you disappear. It means you stop carrying the imaginary burden of being a separate someone who has to control everything, fix everything, and defend against everything. You discover that you exist as something much more spacious and peaceful than you ever imagined. Layer 2. The emptiness of all things. As profound as the emptiness of self is, it is only the beginning. The Buddha's insight, expanded upon by later philosophers like Nagarjuna, extends this principle of interdependence to everything we experience. Just as there is no solid, separate, you, experiencing things, there are also no solid, separate, things, being experienced. Let's return to our story. A new monk, Dao, arrives at the monastery. He is restless in a different way than Chen. He is always trying to categorize and define the world, believing that if he could just understand the clear boundaries between everything, he would find peace. He sees the pond as separate from the tree, and the tree as separate from the sky. Master Lin challenges this view by asking Dao to define the boundaries of a single leaf floating on the pond. Where does the leaf end and the pond begin? Dao's confident answer, that they are two separate things, begins to crumble under the weight of Master Lin's gentle questioning. Could the leaf exist without the tree it came from? No. Could the tree exist without the soil, the water, and the sunlight? No. Could the soil exist without the countless leaves and creatures that have decomposed to create it? No. As Dao follows this line of inquiry, he discovers something incredible. The leaf is not a separate object. It is a temporary form made of non-leaf elements, soil, rain, sunlight, air. Without any of these, the leaf could not exist. The leaf is a verb, not a noun. It is the action of the universe manifesting in a particular form for a brief time. This is the deeper layer of emptiness. Everything is empty of an independent, self-existing nature. This doesn't mean things don't exist. It means they exist in an interdependent manner. A flower is a magnificent expression of the universe, but it cannot be found apart from the soil, the sun, the water, and the entire ecosystem that supports it. This insight is immensely liberating. When we see a challenge or a problem, we usually perceive it as a solid, separate thing. For example, a financial problem seems like a real, solid object that exists independently. But when we look closer, we see that it is made of countless conditions, economic systems, job markets, past decisions, future fears. The problem is not an isolated entity, it is a manifestation of the vast, interconnected web of existence. By understanding the emptiness of things, we stop seeing the world as a collection of separate, solid problems that can threaten our well-being. Instead, we see a dynamic, flowing process. This allows us to respond to challenges with greater clarity and less fear. Because we are no longer fighting against a solid mountain. We are simply working with the natural flow of a river. Practical application and transformation. The insights of emptiness are not just for monks in a monastery. They are intensely practical tools for navigating the modern world. When you face a difficult moment, a challenging conversation, a health concern, or financial pressure, you can remember the lessons of Chen and Dao. Normally, the situation feels like it's happening to a solid, vulnerable you. But what if you saw it as a temporary form, arising from causes and conditions, just like the temple bell's sound or the floating leaf? The difficult conversation isn't just about you. It's a manifestation of your shared history, the other person's past experiences, the current atmosphere, and a host of other factors. The stress isn't a solid thing attacking you. It's a natural reaction arising from this confluence of conditions. When you look for the threatened, separate self, you might find that it's just a habit of thinking, a phantom in the mind. This realization doesn't make you passive. On the contrary, it allows you to act more effectively and with less stress. You can respond to challenges from a place of clarity and peace, rather than from the fears and defenses of an imaginary separate self. You can address what needs to be addressed without the extra layer of suffering that comes from taking everything so personally. In the end, this is what the Buddha called nirvana, not a place you go to after you die, but a way of being in this very life that is free from unnecessary suffering. It is a profound, peaceful freedom that arises from seeing things as they truly are, interdependent, impermanent, and empty of a solid, separate existence. As you let these insights settle, you might discover that the peace you have been seeking was never really missing. It was just hidden beneath some very convincing thoughts about how solid and separate everything is. You are not a collection of problems to be solved. You are an expression of the vast, interconnected universe, and that is a story with an ending you can truly rest in.